Of course, that's Tucker Carlson, and that's Vivek Ramaswamy. Might not know him. And they're at the Family Policy Alliance. And Tucker Carlson interviewed 6 presidential candidates for the Republican nomination. Listen to Vivek talk about his upbringing.
My parents came to this country with almost no money. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And then people tell me, oh, that's because you had privilege. They tell me white privilege. It's sort of weird. It's sort of an interesting, it's kind of interesting.
Do you tell them?
I take the blindfold off, and now you have your answer. But the interesting answer is, actually what I do tell him, Tucker, is that I did have privilege. I didn't grow up in money, but I had 2 parents in the house, a mother and a father, with a focus on education and a faith in God. And you know what? That is the ultimate privilege. That if I'm going to enjoy that, every kid in this country ought to enjoy it too.
Vivek's what you call an anti-woke activist. And here he's talking about how his family came from nothing. Humble beginnings. And he was still able to achieve because they were a man and a woman, believed heavily in God, and valued education. My premise is, hey, Vivek, what you talking about, Arnold? There was a little bit more to it than that, right? How does the boy from Cincinnati become an anti-woke activist who's now running for president? In this video, I'm going to tell you a story of how that happens and how our lives are sometimes shaped by invisible forces that have a lot more to do with where we are in life than who we are in life or what we want in life. In the heart of Ohio, 2 boys are born on the same day, same year. On one side of the city, Vivek, born into a family of Indian immigrants, Brahmins by caste. On the other side, Jamal, born into a working-class black family. Vivek's parents were well-educated and worked for reputable institutions. He spent the summers traveling back and forth to India, giving him an opportunity to be immersed in a rich, complex culture and learning valuable lessons about the world along the way. Jamal's parents were hardworking and loving. They wanted the best for Jamal, but they just could barely make ends meet. The idea of travel was far out of reach for Jamal and his family. In fact, they never took vacations. Jamal's life centered around Ohio. He was confined to his neighborhood. Their lives took divergent paths. Vivek attended prestigious institutions like Harvard and Yale. He then turned his focus to finance and entrepreneurship, creating companies, accumulating vast wealth, and ultimately running for the Republican nomination for president. Meanwhile, Jamal battled to overcome the obstacles of a system that wasn't built for him. Despite being equally bright and ambitious, the opportunities accessible to him were limited. Jamal's potential was untapped. Vivek, now a self-proclaimed anti-woke activist, he argues against victimhood. Vivek says his success stems from his traditional American values and merit. As we unravel the tale of Vivek and Jamal, we examine how things move in the real world, how privilege operates. Are we all playing on the same playing field? Is there a difference? I'm not saying that there's no opportunity that can be achieved for Jamal. Of course there can be. But to discount Jamal's struggle and to leave out very cornerstones and very important parts of your own travel through life, Vivek, is not very genuine. And for the record, Vivek, whoever said that you were white privileged,
I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And then people tell me, oh, that's because you had privilege. They tell me white privilege. It's sort of weird. It's sort of an interesting.
I question the white part because you're not white. But coming from the Brahmin caste system in India, there is a hierarchy. There are 5 societies in the caste system, and the Brahmin systems top all of them. I realize that we're not in India, we're in America. But I'm sure that you understand more than some would understand this, Vivek. In India, we have the untouchables. And the untouchables are those who are the descendants of slaves and prisoners. In America, we have descendants of slaves as well. They're called Black Americans. And how do they keep us in chains? Or how do they keep us slaves? Through prison systems. Folks, it's not a personal attack against Vivek, but this is disingenuous. Do not pretend that the connections that your dad made him being a lawyer and an engineer back in India, and your mom being a psychiatrist and doctor here in the States as well. Don't tell me that has no bearing on how things turned out for you. Vivek Ramaswamy is a billionaire. A billionaire. And he wants us to believe that that just happened because he believes in God and his parents stayed together. There's a big difference between the life of Jamal and the life of Vivek. All of it is not hinged on merit. Hell, Vivek, you had a private tutor. You had a private tutor your whole time through school. I don't think Jamal had a private tutor. I understand Vivek wants to tell Jamal there's no limit to what Jamal can achieve. But to ignore the fact that Jamal has an uphill battle, and some people just got it easier, and one of those people being Vivek Ramaswamy, that's not called victimhood. That's called being honest. So Vivek, I'm not saying you didn't work hard, brother. I'm sure you worked really hard at becoming a billionaire. You may have actually put in an honest day's work. Cool. I'm not going to begrudge you that. The problem is this. When I started this story, we were talking about Jamal and Vivek, and how Jamal and Vivek lives are very different when they started out. And see, that's the promise of America. All children start out with the same access to the same opportunities. And that's not what we have in America. And if Vivek was running to make that real, that we do all have the same opportunities, I consider supporting him. But instead, he's running on nationalism because he believes the way to make America better is to make America love America more. Oh, and up the age of voting or something. Well, as the story comes to a close, just remember Jamal and Vivek born on the same day in the same city, but they have vastly different lives now. One's a billionaire running for president, and the other one, he's running to catch a train or catch a sale at Target or just trying to make ends meet. And that's the real issues that we're dealing with. Not wokeism, brokeism, as in poorism, as in deadism. No matter how fast you talk, it's clear that we're not all starting at the same starting line. Some of us got a head start, and some are barely getting out the blocks, and that's what needs to be fixed. It ain't funny, but that is the punchline. For more content that hits home, subscribe to this channel. My name is Tim Black, and you have been watching Tim Black's
The Black Table. Tim Black's Black Table streams Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Times. You better tell somebody.